I've got 40 acres for sale in Montana, just outside of the Missoula area. My name's Miles McLaughlin here at Wilco Land. In this video, I'm going to break down this listing. I'm going to talk about things like common questions. I'm going to cover access directions to this property, show you what the land looks like on satellite imagery as well. So we'll talk about some potential uses with the property and why people buy things like this, who's the target audience. So I do work with a lot of properties like this. People love these listings. They sell really well here simply due to our price point. We offer some of the most competitive prices on the market, and people are looking for private recreational, hubs, in Montana, outside the city limits. People are looking to get a piece of Montana. There's a land rush happening that nobody's talking about, right? And this is an opportunity for somebody to get their foot in the door in Montana for a really nice hunting recreational property. It's a great place for a cabin in the woods, a yurt, or simply just throw some game cams up, call it your campsite, and go hunting out here. Our photographer did get to this property. He took some really great ground shots on the property. You can see the views are going to be world-class up here. There is access to get to the property. I'll talk more about what that looks like. And we'll get into that a little bit too. So I don't know exactly where this was taken, but at some point, somewhere in the area, there must have been some police training on state land around it, or maybe somebody leased out one of their private properties. But another really great feature to this property, a huge selling point, is that it's surrounded by state land. There's I think it's 90,000 acres or 40,000 acres. We'll look here on a map in a minute, but there's tens of thousands of acres of state land adjacent to your property. So this is going to be some really awesome hunting and private property without really any neighbors. Our photographer does a really great job here in Montana. He mapped a potential build site or a campsite, whatever you want to call it. There are these roads going, somebody's accessed this property in the past before, and that'll lead into our access conversation. This is a really, really nice piece of land, and I do think there's a pathway to create a better access to the property. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but for right now, what I'm advertising is hike-in access to the property. I'll talk about what that looks like here in a second. Again, we're advertising a recreational property with hike-in access right now. You can get really close to the property on a Forest Service road and basically walk up into the property. It's going to offer a really, really private retreat, a really nice hunting retreat. There are no roads going back to the property. Nobody's driving back here. There are some old road beds that we saw there. I don't think they're being used. And I'm going to just dive into access right now. Let me give you a bird's eye look at where the property is located here on a map. We're out here just outside of Missoula, Montana, just north of I-90 around Clinton, Montana here. Okay. The property is located here off East Ashby Creek Road. We can see it here. This is Ashby Creek Road right here. I do have driving directions as we talk about, access to the property. You want to use the GPS coordinates to access. I suggest using an app like Onyx Maps, plugging these GPS coordinates in on the app. You can see as I zoom into the property here, you can see it outlined in those red lines. You can see there's state land adjacent to the property to the north in all directions, 40,000 acres of state land adjacent to your property. You can see Ashby Creek is right here on state land. And then this is East Ashby Creek Road. So talking a little bit more about access to the property, you want to use those coordinates to get there. I do have directions to take Highway 200 from Missoula to Morrison Lane. This turns into Ashby Creek Road, which you're going to follow left at the fork until you reach Wallace Creek Road at these coordinates. So you're going to follow Wallace Creek Road until you reach a Forest Service gate, park and walk onto the property. Our photographer made it just fine onto this property. It should be accessible. Get some hiking boots on, park on Wallace Creek Road. You're walking a couple hundred yards to get to the property. So let me show you exactly where I'm talking about though. So as I zoom out, this is East Ashby Creek Road, the one following the creek here. And this is going to take you basically, here's Wallace Creek Road, the Forest Service road that we were talking about just previously. And this is a gate. This property is gated right here. This is private ownership. There's a road users association called East Ashby Creek Road Users Association. There's a little bit of history here. There's a road and it comes back here onto state land. This East Ashby Creek Road does. So I don't know how a landowner can get into that road association and get beyond that gate and use this and get onto state land, because presumably state land, there are old road beds. You can even see them better on satellite imagery here. There are old road beds. You can see Ashby Creek Road is pretty well used. There's old road beds that come back here and meander about this area. And there's a neighbor or there's somebody back here that's got a pretty cool little cabin up here. So some way, somehow, people have in the past or are getting back to this property and getting back to this cabin. It looks like there's tire tracks right here, and I don't exactly know where to follow that road. It's really hard on satellite imagery to see exactly where it goes. But here's another something that I found too, is look at how it branches off East Ashby Creek Road through the state land right here and kind of makes its way. It's really hard to tell, but it makes its way onto our property right here in the corner. And you can see in the satellite imagery, it extends, it keeps going, and there's more roads over here. So maybe you can get up past Wallace Creek Road and come around right here, and there's roads meandering this way, and it gets you really darn close. You could almost take a 2-track to the corner of the property right there. That's what I'm seeing, right? Maybe you could come in to the property from, right here. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know the whole story. I do think there is potentially a pathway to acquiring, some sort of legal access or some sort of, access to the property. But for now, you're coming in off Wallace Creek Road right here. There's nice little parking spots like right here. There's one down here. And again, this is a Forest Service road. So, this is a really, really traversable road in your vehicle. At somewhere there's a gate on this road and you're going to start walking. You're going to park at one of these little turnoffs and walk up to the property. Honestly, the distance to walk onto our property is not very long. I'll kind of measure it out from this point. You can walk up to the corner of our property in about 670 feet. To put that in perspective, that's about 2 football fields. So about 200 yards. You're just kind of hiking onto the corner of our property right there. Again, this road is really not that far either. So let's say you park down here where that little turnoff is, to just come up this road to get to like a walking point is going to be roughly a 1/4 mile walk, 4 football fields or 1,200 feet, right? So no matter where you park over here on East Wallace Creek Road, it's not going to be a bad hike up onto our property. You can tell by the photos that it's pretty open. It's really walkable. Our photographer made it just fine getting onto the property. We do sell a lot of land like this. Why do people buy land like this that you can't, drive a car onto day one? The price is one big thing. Not everybody's looking for some expensive $250,000 property in the woods. Some people are simply looking for a place to put a yurt, to put it, have a campsite up there for their friends and family, have a hunting retreat, and just stamp their footprint in Montana and have some land ownership, right? So not everybody, the alternative is you're buying something that is going to cost $150,000, $200,000 with really good access and really great buildable property. You can build a $500,000 cabin on. But there's going to be plenty of people that are simply looking for an affordable land investment in Montana, something that's extremely private and secluded like this, and a place you can pack materials in. I've even had customers fly materials onto a property and put game cams up, have a hunting retreat. You're adjacent to state land, build a campsite, build a glorified campsite up there for your friends and family. Bring yurt materials in there. There is a lot you can do with property like this without having that multi-million-dollar property, without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can own land, you can be a landowner in Montana, and you can develop it the way you want. There really aren't any zoning restrictions. There's no zoning out here. So the county's not going to be imposing a bunch of rules with what you can and cannot do on your property. So that's another attractive part of this property. So we've got a good write-up on this property. We've got really good access directions. I talked about it again here on Onyx Maps. There is a gate right here. I don't know how you get into this Road Users Association to get into East Ashby Creek Road and go further beyond that gate. But again, you could contact the state or Forest Service. They might be able to work with you to get some sort of easement or temporary use for a driveway. I've seen that happen before where the Forest Service or the state will grant you some sort of non-perpetual easement to get up onto your property and make a driveway. If you can go forward with those activities, now you've just added $100,000 of value to your property, right? So if you can work with the state and you can get some sort of driveway put into your property from the state land off Wallace Creek Road right here to get into your property, you have doubled or tripled your land investment by simply making those calls, going through the legwork of working with the state. I sell all of my land as is because there will be people that are interested in just buying this property for hunting and recreation and hiking into. And there's going to be people that over time, they're going to use this tangible land of investment for recreation. And over time, they are going to figure out access. They are going to figure out a way to drive onto the property and build some sort of cabin. So that's going to add a ton of value to it. Some people are going to do that. Some people just don't care and want an extremely private, secluded 40-acre outside of Missoula, Montana, surrounded by state land. So those are some of the selling points on this property. That's what I have to say on it. You're welcome to go view the property anytime on your own. I do have a lot of land listings in Montana. If you're in the market for something like this, take a peek at our website. We've got properties all over, Western Montana, Eastern Montana. There's a lot of really nice land listings on here. This is one of our best priced properties right here for $75,000 is all just north of Billings. I've got a really special land investment up here in Swan Lake. Really nice riverfront property down in Anaconda, Montana, 100 acres down in Deer Lodge National Forest. So take a gander at the website. If there's anything you have questions about, you want to chat with us, we're here to help you on your land buying journey. These land investments are something we truly believe in and we stand behind. Give me a call if you want to chat more high level about land. You can reach me here at 605-299-5553. Thanks for tuning in.